Andrew Cherkasky. So Donald Trump was able to post a $175 million bond. He did it with a bond agency. Now AG Letitia James says the agency that wrote the bond for Trump is not qualified to do so. So she's reportedly beginning the process of claiming Trump's properties. Is this ever going to end?
Well, I'm going to call this an administrative or bureaucratic technicality that's going to have to be worked out. It does appear as though the bond company doesn't have all of the requirements necessary in terms of what they provide to the state of New York. I believe that's something they're going to be able to work out.
Forgive me for interrupting.
Sure.
It's not that they don't have the money, though, right?
Right. Well, it's not just the money. It's additional money on top of it as the surety for that money. So there has to be certain requirements that are satisfied in the state of New York. I believe this company comes out of California. I think that as they work that out, the court is going to have tolerance for Donald Trump working that out to make sure that that's done appropriately. I don't see a building getting seized in the meantime.
Now, we can't dismiss egos in all this because Letitia James ran on the basis of her going after Trump. She said she was going to pursue him until she got him in jail, etc. She lost hugely with that appeals court that reduced that initial fine that the judge who was working with her pulled out of the air, $454 million, reduced it by about 2/3. Is this her way of getting some kind of payback after that loss?
Well, I think that took the wind out of her sails. You know, it seems as though she's desperate to move into one of these buildings. Maybe she should just fill out an application for rent in one of those buildings. But she wants in, and I think she wants to be able to get that victory before the election. It's going to be very difficult for her to do so because I think the appellate court is going to take its time, and they're going to have to go through all of these calculations. This is a huge case for them to get a decision before the election.
So the same appellate court that handed her a defeat in terms of bringing down that bond so much is now going to be deciding on this issue of whether the bond agency can be used.
Well, I believe the bond issue is actually going down to the trial court level.
Okay.
That's a technicality that I'd have to dig a little deeper into. But that's an initial issue. Ultimately, the appellate court's going to be deciding the big issues. And that's what Donald Trump's team has already gone to the appellate court with. They've already filed papers that suggest that there are very strong arguments on many issues, to include the calculation of the damages, if not the actual findings by the court in the first place. So a huge case they've got to get through.
There's another case that's a big mess, and that's Fani Willis, the RICO case for the election fraud issue down in Georgia. She's going through yet another set of circumstances, right? The judge wants to gag her?
The judge, well, the defense teams are going to file a motion to gag her. She continues to make public statements. Now, if you'll remember in the judge's decision on the disqualification issue, in which she was kept on the case, but Nathan Wade was kicked off the case, the judge made a comment about gagging her, that motion wasn't before the court, but the judge was very critical of the public statements she made.
The ones in church where she blamed her race on the problems that she's had.
And he called them inappropriate. So he's ready, I think, to issue a gag order. He just needs a motion before the court to do so.
Will any of these cases, and of course we haven't even talked about Jack Smith, that's a whole nother kettle of fish, but will any of these cases go to court before the election?
Well, we have the New York case scheduled to start next Monday. Now, there are ways that Donald Trump could try to avoid that, including firing his defense team. It's also a very strong case. So I think he may have interest in going to trial next week and getting a victory. That may be.
Finally, very quickly, a Biden-appointed judge, not a Trump-appointed judge, named Anna Reyes, blew up at Biden's DOJ for ignoring subpoenas from Republicans. And she said, in point of fact, there's a person in jail right now. She was talking about Peter Navarro, because you all brought a criminal lawsuit against him because he did not appear for a House subpoena. And now you guys are flouting those subpoenas. That was kind of interesting.
Well, it shows low tolerance for what's going on in the DOJ, a very politicized entity. We have to remember the Department of Justice works for the president. And so while there may be good efforts to enforce the law generally, when it comes to these political issues, we see politics at play.
Andrew, great to see you. We covered the waterfront. Thank you very much.